afraid of whatever evidence is unearthed from whatever source, because for 15 months, every stitch of evidence has been consistent with my client's innocence. However...
Good morning. Welcome to the transparency. Sandra Birchmore, the papers, the documents. This is what you call an investigation. This is what you call due diligence.
In the meantime, my client suffers. In the meantime, her life is on hold, while she spends every waking moment defending herself, emotionally, intellectually, and financially. We cannot abide by excuses any longer. We need this court's help. We need you, Your Honor, respectfully.
Juror, quote, believes that every member of the jury, if asked, will confirm that the jury reached not guilty verdicts.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the transparency. It is Thursday all day today. This morning, August 29th, we'll be going through the documents for the Sandra Birchmore case with the arrest of Matthew Farwell, as well as then at noon today, which will be 9 a.m. out on the West Coast, we will be having the Brian Culber and the Idaho 4 change of venue hearing live streamed. So good morning to everybody. We're going to jump right into it. This is just a quick little timeline for those of you guys that just truly wrap your heads around the timeline, the time frame of when this was happening. But Matt here, he was in the Army from 2004 to 2008, and he was an explosives expert. Okay. After leaving the Army from 2008 to 2012, Wellesley, Massachusetts, if I'm saying that right, Wellesley. That's actually where he lives currently. I'm not sure if he lived there back then, but he was from 2008 to 2012 a police officer there. And I'm curious as to why he made then the switch in 2012 to Stoughton, Massachusetts Police Department, where he then remained until he exited in 2022 because of this case. So little heads up here, right before he married and is still married to her right now, in 2013, Birchmore talks about it in text messages with friends, saying that she had been sleeping with him for 10 years. And we're going to talk about that. Matt has 3 kids. One of the kids was born within 24 hours after he strangled and murdered Sandra Birchmore. Sandra Birchmore was born in May of 1997. And in text messages, you guys are going to find out, again, this is a trigger warning, in 2013, April 10th to be exact, she says, "I'll never forget that day. That's when I lost my virginity to you. It was the best day of my life." And he says it was the best day of his life as well. He was 27 years old, and she was 15. Now, this is what I believe. Yes, it was right by the fish market. I have a photo for you if I can find it. Yes, please do. I was trying to tell you it was in Revere where he was arrested. That's right by the fish market there. So I feel for his kids. I feel for his wife. I feel for his whole family. Okay. They're victims too, if you want my opinion on all that. So again, I have to tell everybody that this is a trigger warning. I am going to be reading straight from the documents. This is a 45-page affidavit, okay, in connection with being able to detain Matthew leading up until trial. We want to be able to keep him in custody, okay? We don't want him being out during the impending time between now and his trial. So a federal grand jury did indict him, okay? And then the United States motion for a memorandum in support of pretrial detention That's about an 18-page document. All right, but I'm going to read off this affidavit because this kind of gives you the best breakdown of just truly what went on over in that part of Massachusetts. And it starts to give you a very, very interesting outlook on who else is involved as far as like a cover-up would be concerned with this case. So let's see. Back out of here. Again, good morning to everybody. I would like to point out that you can be new to something and still do a good job. So I think hands down, this is what I would believe a probable cause should look like. I submit the affidavit in connection with the government's motion to detain defendant Matthew Farwell, however he wants to say his name. I like to say Farewell, motherfucker, as alleged in the indictment charging Farwell with violating 18 U.S.C. 1512A1C. And it's going to be further described below. But on February 1st, 2021, Farwell killed Sandra Birchmore with the intent to prevent her from communicating to law enforcement certain information regarding Farwell's commission or possible commission of the following federal crimes. Using a facility or means of interstate commerce to persuade, induce, entice, or coerce then the 15-year-old Birchmore to engage in unlawful sexual intercourse. B, depriving Birchmore of certain rights secured by the United States Constitution by committing statutory rape. C, participating in a scheme to defraud the Stoughton Police Department. And it's very interesting how they're getting him on these. It's a quote unquote wire fraud scheme. And it's because Matthew Farwell was being, he was on like direct deposit and he was screwing them out of hours because on the job he was doing things that he was not supposed to be doing and therefore defrauding Stoughton. And because he was getting money deposited through wire transfers, they incorporated this violation. Very interesting, huh? Now, overview of the investigation begins with number 4. On February 1st, 2021, then Stoughton Police detective, he was a detective. He wasn't just your patrol officer. He was a detective. He killed Sandra Birchmore. Farwell committed this murder at least in part to prevent Birchmore from disclosing to authorities information regarding his commission or possible commissions of one or more crimes. Number 5 here. When she was a young girl, Sandra Birchmore was interested in pursuing a career in law enforcement and eventually joined the Stoughton Police Explorers Academy. Herein, it's going to be just called the Police Explorers to learn more about law enforcement careers. While Birchmore was in the program, Farwell was involved as both a volunteer at first, and then he became an instructor. Farwell used his authority and access to groom, sexually exploit, and ultimately sexually abuse then 15-year-old Sandra Birchmore. Farwell continued his sexual abuse after Birchmore became an adult and continued to engage in an extramarital relationship and then ultimately killing her on February 1st, 2021. Extramarital whoopsies relationship and then ultimately killing her. Okay, sorry about that. You guys hear those dogs? I'm about to report that. Number 6 here. There are signs that in late 2020 and early 2021, Farwell was losing control of Birchmore and the information she possessed about his past and then ongoing conduct. In or around December 2020, Birchmore became pregnant. Soon thereafter, Birchmore told Farwell that he was the father of her child, and she wanted him to be more involved in the planning for the impending birth. Now, this is going to be interesting when you actually hear how this was a planned pregnancy. There was a deal made. I will get you pregnant if you don't tell anybody about what went on before you were basically of age. Okay? So hang on to this part right here, because it's all going to come full circle here in a little bit. In January of 2021, Birchmore's friend contacted the Stoughton Police Department. And during that call, referenced Farwell's and Birchmore's illicit sexual relationship. Shortly thereafter, a Stoughton Police Department employee told Farwell about that call. This would happen, guys. There's going to be text messages you're going to see. This literally happened right before she was murdered. So, again, we're going to come back to this when you guys see what happens in these text messages leading up to her death. By the end of January 2021, Farwell faced the specter of additional disclosures to law enforcement regarding his prior sexual abuse of Birchmore and his then ongoing efforts to defraud the Stoughton Police Department and town of Stoughton by meeting her for sex when he was supposed to be on duty as a police officer. On February 1st, 2021, Farwell went to Birchmore's apartment in Canton, Massachusetts, wearing a COVID-19 medical face mask. Once inside, he killed her and staged her body and apartment to make it appear that Birchmore had died by suicide. On February 4th, again, this is what I believe a probable cause affidavit should look like. Dates and timestamps. On February 4th, 2021, 3 days after the murder, members of the Canton Police Department went to Birchmore's apartment to conduct a well-being check. Sandra missed work, and that's the employees from her work called. So when police officers entered Birchmore's apartment, they found her body. A paramedic determined that Birchmore was dead and her body was transported to the office of the chief medical examiner. That's going to be here in OCME. In early May of 2021, an OCME pathologist ruled Birchmore's manner of death to be suicide. And everybody wants to know who this be. Evidence that Farwell committed federal offenses or possibly committed federal offenses by sexually abusing Birchmore when she was a minor. Again, Matthew Farwell started sexually exploiting Sandra Birchmore no later than 2013, when she was 15 years old. That footnote is telling you guys, remember that he was born in 1985. Just so you guys know, she was born in 1997. Okay? At that time, Birchmore was enrolled in the Police Explorers. Farwell used his position of trust and authority as a sworn police officer and instructor in the Police Explorers to groom Birchmore. Ultimately, Farwell sexually abused Birchmore, including by engaging in sexual intercourse with her. Number 11, the Explorer program is a vocational educational program that enables youth to explore career paths, such as careers in law enforcement. Police departments throughout the country partner with the Explorer program to create what are commonly known as local police explorers programs. The Stoughton Police Department chartered and facilitated the Stoughton Police Explorers. Number 12, Farwell became a sworn member of the police department of Wellesley's department in 2008. Like I mentioned earlier, he was in the Army from 04 to 08. On March 27, 2012, he was hired by the Stoughton Police Department. Again, I'm interested to know why he only lasted 4 years. Was there conduct going on at this police department? Wonder if that's going to come out. So when he joined the Stoughton Police Department in March of 2012, he remained there, okay, until 2022, when he basically left due to this case. So prior to joining Stoughton Police Department in 2012, he was a police explorer volunteer. So after joining the Stoughton Police Department, though, he served as a police explorers instructor. He had several roles as an instructor, including teaching firearms and explosive safety and conducting canine demonstrations. Again, he was already familiar with the program because he had also been a participant as a teenager. So I wonder if it's going to come out that there was stuff going on if he was ever a victim. Number 13, in March 2010, Sandra Birchmore applied to a police explorers to be that participant. At the time, Birchmore was 12 years old. So Matthew Farwell would have met Sandra Birchmore and looking at her when he was an adult in his late 20s, he would have seen her as a 12-year-old when he met her for the first time. She participated in the program in the spring of 2010 and remained in the program through 2016. So basically, after she was 18 years, like when she probably turned 18, she was done. Matthew began to groom Birchmore when she was a child. This grooming consummated in Farwell. I'm not going to say that word. Birchmore in April 2013 when she was only 15 years old. And I want to take a look down at these footnotes so you guys can understand. Based on my training and experience, this is the definition of that. Under Massachusetts law, any intercourse with a person under the age of 16 is unlawful. So again, citing this, that's what those footnotes are for. Farwell continued to sexually abuse Birchmore prior to her 18th birthday, and then after Birchmore turned 18, Farwell continued cultivating a sexual relationship with her that lasted until her death on February 1st, 2021. Electronic messages between the two indicated that he had sexually abused Birchmore when she was a child. After Birchmore's death, law enforcement agents obtained Birchmore's cell phone, both Apple iPhones and laptop, and reviewed the data on those devices. During that review, agents discovered messages between Farwell and Birchmore. These messages confirmed that Farwell frequently communicated with Birchmore for years. The messages also indicated that Farwell had sex with Birchmore when she was a minor, starting in or around April 2013. She was 15 and he was 27. Again, welcome to Truth and Transparency. Thank you for being here. Again, this is a trigger warning. Absolutely, Ms. Potts, this is what a real affidavit of probable cause looks like and how much work should go into obtaining one when you're obtaining search warrants and things like that. Data from Birchmore's Facebook. Now, this is what's wild. Data from her Facebook account reveals aspects at the beginning of Farwell and Birchmore's online communication. Specifically, the data from Facebook indicated that it was him who sent Birchmore a Facebook friend request on October 28th, 2012. He sent her the request to be friends on Facebook. At that time, Birchmore was 15 years old and a participant in the Police Explorers. Farwell was her 26-year-old instructor at that point in 2012. He reached out to her online on Facebook. On February 21st, 2019, Birchmore and Farwell had a text message conversation about Farwell taking Birchmore's virginity. Birchmore told Farwell that she was happy that he took it. Later in the same conversation, he acknowledged that it was a big thing to get that to be the first. In quotes, a big thing to get to be the first, end quote. In the same text conversation, Farwell also reminisced about the first time I'm not even going to say that, discussing the day that occurred. Farwell also asked Birchmore what she would have done if he told her he wanted her that day. These are all in text messages. Birchmore responded that she would have told him that he could have sex with her after school. She also recalled the specific class and seat that she was in when she realized that she was going to lose her virginity to Farwell. Based on my investigation, I believe that this occurred during the 2012-2013 school year when Birchmore was 15 years old. Additionally, on March 19th, 2019, Farwell asked Birchmore, quote unquote, "What would you have done if we never used a condom and I never pulled out?" End quote. Birchmore reassured Farwell that she would have still finished school. Birchmore then told Farwell, quote unquote, "I loved prom night. It was worth not going to prom." You guys are going to find out and see what she's referring to, but she did not go to prom, and instead she spent prom night with him. On February 11th, 2020, so this would be almost a year before the murder in 2021. On February 11th, 2020, Birchmore and Farwell discussed the exact day that Farwell then took 15-year-old Birchmore's virginity. And this is the dialect that's in text messages. And this is going to be very, very important when we talk about who was responsible from the Massachusetts State Police Department to look for these messages. And somehow, some way, Nicholas Guerno, the same guy that got on the stand in the Karen Reed case, mentioning that John's health data was going upstairs because it was a hilly road that wasn't really hilly, though. He's the same guy in this case that happens to miss 33,000 text messages between these two people. We talk about a great day for Sandra Birchmore and all of, like, this is called truth, okay? Sandra Birchmore is getting truth. And in this process, Karen Reed is going to get truth. Birchmore, I had butterflies so bad the day you took my farewell. Me too. It was such a big day. Birchmore, still know the date to this day. Really? Yes. Smiley face. That's not a date I'll ever forget. It was April 10th, 2013. Smiley face. Best day of my life. And he says, me too. Me too. Can you imagine his wife reading this right now? Me too. LOL. LOL. If I pushed, I absolutely could have you with what? Probably if you really pushed it. I was kind of scared to say no in the beginning, not knowing how do you take it. So yeah, you would have gotten no condoms. This is just, again, they're reminiscing. Okay. So this conversation here is 1 year before he murdered her, alleged. They're reminiscing about this. So she'd have been 22 years old. Reminiscing of when she was 15, 7 years ago. Just so you guys understand the timeline here. Okay, B. Other electronic messages confirm that Farwell sexually abused Birchmore when she was a child. Okay. Lana, was he married the whole time from start? Did he marry while having an affair too? According to Sandra Birchmore, you guys are going to find out in these papers right here, she comes out in text messages to her friends and says that he, quote unquote, she was effing him the whole time. And then you just have to really cross up the dates to see. But I believe that he was messing around with her before he married his wife. But obviously they would have been dating before they got married. So I think he was cheating the whole time. No, Mary P. Sandra does not let his wife know. That's not, I'm going to explain that. It can get lost in translation, and that's not actually what happens. So the text message between Birchmore and others confirm that Farwell sexually abused Birchmore as a child and continued that relationship with her until her death. Oh my God, good to see you in here, Jen. Love you, girl. Good morning. For example, on October 5th, 2020, which would just be a couple months before her murder, Birchmore texted one of her friends, and it's going to be referred to as person one. So they use references of anybody that's a quote unquote witness. It's person one through, they go through person 8. So person one here, that Farwell had been having sex with her for the last almost 10 years. And that Farwell had taken her virginity before she was 16. On May 20th, 2020, again, it's going to be about, 9 months before then her murder, Birchmore told another friend that she had lost her virginity 5 days before the Boston Marathon bombing. Okay. Also on October 5th, 2020, Birchmore prepared a draft text message to Farwell's wife. Birchmore sent this draft to person number 1. And so that's why I want to say, like, she never reached out to the wife, but was thinking about it. And this is what she was going to write the wife. The text states in part, in quotes, "I am just messaging to inform you that your husband, Matthew, has been out cheating on you since before you guys were even married." End quote. I am aware that Farwell and his wife got married in May of 2013. Okay. May of 2013. April 10th, 2013. Lost virginity. So what happened first? He took her virginity and then a month later married that broad that he married. So just showing you guys my dates and timestamps here. So again, I'm aware that Farwell and his wife got married in May of 2013, shortly before Birchmore turned 16 years old. There is no known record indicating the draft message was ever sent to his wife. Okay. This was just like, we do this all the time. We send messages to our friends and say, hey, what do you think about this? Do you think I should send it, type of thing? That's what occurred here. So she did not send that text. It went to the friend. All right. Now, if that friend did something with it, or if that got passed along, you know how that game works. But number 24. Now, other text messages between Farwell, and Birchmore demonstrate his sexual interest in minors. Now, again, trigger warning. On June 15, 2019, Farwell and Birchmore exchanged text messages in which they discussed role-playing during their next sexual encounter. Farwell asked Birchmore how old she was. Oh, I just want to say, Willie, I took care of what you needed taken care of, and that should be reflected in the edited new upload. Love you, man. Sorry about that. I had no idea. Moving on. When Birchmore responded 14, so he says how old she was going to pretend to be during their next encounter, Birchmore said 14. He replied with a smiley face emoji. In another conversation between Farwell and Birchmore on February 21st, 2020, again, almost a year before she was murdered, he described pinning her down during sex and asks her, in quotes, will you say Matt, stop. I'm 13. I'm not ready for this OMFG. Please stop. What? He's not, this isn't role playing your fantasy. This is role playing your real life. That's what you kind of did, right? Now, I have also reviewed several text messages from 2020 in which Farwell instructs Birchmore to act as if he were her older brother coming into her room at night. C. Witnesses confirm that Farwell cultivated a close relationship with Birchmore when she was a child. 26. Agents have interviewed one of Birchmore's friends. Herein is now going to be person 2. Okay. Regarding Birchmore's relationship with Farwell. Person 2 indicated that shortly before her death, Birchmore revealed to him/her, they're not trying to reveal if it's a boy or a girl, so everybody understands that Farwell started having sex with Birchmore when she was 15 years old. Agents, number 27, agents have also interviewed one of Birchmore's relatives who described being aware that Birchmore would meet with Farwell when Birchmore was a minor. Specifically, this family member indicated that around the time Birchmore was a freshman in high school, she would tell him/her that she was meeting with him so he could help her with homework. Homework. Good morning, Sherry D. Good morning to everybody. Welcome to Truth and Transparency. You're not too far behind. Homework. Homework. Number 28. I have reviewed a text message exchange between Farwell and Birchmore from June 17, 2019, where the two discuss how Farwell had helped her quote-unquote test prep at the library. Farwell told Birchmore that she should have told him that she was interested in having sex with him that day. Birchmore told him that she was scared to speak up. Farwell then asked her, quote-unquote, did you think I wouldn't want to F you? End quote. Birchmore responded, yes, in quotes. And like, because of my age, I didn't want you to be like, no, whatever, end quote. Farwell then told her, quote unquote, I understand that. In a conversation from April 5th, 2020, Farwell told Birchmore that he knew he wanted to take her virginity when he started helping her with her schoolwork. Additionally, that footnote wants everybody to know that Birchmore was a freshman in high school from September of 2011 to June 2012. And so that's why this agent said that she believed that was Birchmore's freshman year, is because she went back and, looked at her records and determined that. February 21st, 2020, Birchmore, this is their reminiscing about when they first became sexually active. So when you talk about putting things in a probable cause, this is what this is an affidavit. I listened better back then, though, Birchmore says. Matthew says, Farwell says, I wish it had been a year sooner after helping you study at the library. He then does a back-to-back text and says, you still listen and give me whatever I want, baby. Jeez. Birchmore responds with, I didn't even make you wait a year after that. And good, but I don't think you're going to get what you want next time, so. Farwell says, of course I will. I'll just take it. Birchmore says, that's what you think. Good luck with that. He then says, what was the first day you said, oh my God, I want this guy to be my first. I want to feel him inside me. Birchmore responds, yeah, so 2012, I finally decided that I was going to try and find a way to you and just wasn't sure how. Birchmore says, how did you feel when I asked you to make your dreams come true? Amazing! Exclamation point. Good. I absolutely would have effed you in 12. And she's not understanding in 12. And then he says 2012. Are you kidding me? Number 30 there. Agents have also interviewed one of Birchmore's childhood friends. This person will be referred to as person 3. Person 3 confirmed that Birchmore would meet with Farwell to, quote unquote, help her with homework. Moreover, person 3 indicated that Birchmore confided in him or her, again, not disclosing if it's a boy or a girl, that she was meeting with Farwell in early high school to have with him in the police car or his truck. Now, remember, all parts of the everything that he's being charged with, the reason they're going into this is to talk about how he was doing this when he was supposed to be working, and us taxpayers are paying for him to do this. Okay? So evidence that Farwell committed federal offenses or possibly committed federal offenses to or by submitting false information to obtain wages for time spent engaging in sex acts with Birchmore. Farwell defrauded the Stoughton Police Department and town of Stoughton. On multiple occasions, Farwell engaged in sexual acts with Birchmore while on duty as a Stoughton police officer. To cover this up, Farwell falsely represented that he had worked certain hours when in truth and in fact, he was not working. Rather, he was engaging in sexual acts or spending time with Birchmore. According to Farwell's misconduct, was also part of a scheme to obtain wages from the Stoughton Police Department, an agency of the town of Stoughton, through false statements or material omissions regarding the hours he was on duty and working as a police officer. Creative little way to get him on this wire fraud. Farwell's text messages with Birchmore indicate that he had sex with Birchmore while he was on duty. While he was on duty. It's in text messages. Text messages between Farwell and Birchmore indicated that on multiple occasions, Farwell left work during his shifts to meet and at times engage in sexual activity with Birchmore. These encounters occurred at various locations, including Birchmore's previous home in Stoughton, her more recent apartment in Canton, a Costco parking lot in Stoughton, and a Five Guys parking lot in Canton. Examples of dates and approximate start times of these encounters are listed here. And she, boom, 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 boom. Look at these. I have reviewed messages that reveal that both Farwell and Birchmore knew that some of these encounters occurred while he was on duty. For example, on April 10th, 2020, Farwell wrote in quotes, "I'm going to sneak away from work quick," end quote. On November 24th, 2020, Birchmore asked if Farwell would be on duty when the two were scheduled to meet. He responded, quote unquote, "Yes, I will be on the clock." 34. The text messages between Farwell and Birchmore, which precede several of the above listed encounters, contain statements indicating that the purpose for at least some of the encounters was to engage in sex acts. For example, on several occasions, Farwell sent Birchmore text messages directing her to act as if she was being during the encounter. I don't have to act. 35, Farwell's scheme to defraud caused interstate wire communications. And this is talk about creativity right here. The town of Stoughton pays Stoughton police officers on a biweekly basis in or around 2020 and January 2021. Farwell received his paychecks via direct deposit to his account at USAA Federal Savings Bank. The paycheck funds originated with Rockland Trust Bank and were deposited into Farwell's account via an automated clearinghouse ACH transfer. Each ACH transfer originated outside of Massachusetts and or traveled through another state before terminating in his account. Accordingly, it appears that by engaging in sexual conduct when he should have been performing official duties as a police officer and obtaining pay for that time, he may have committed wire fraud in violation with that code. So they put that in there on his ass. Roman numeral 3, Farwell killed Birchmore to prevent her from disclosing information about his commission of federal crimes and possible commission of federal crimes. So 37, as described in detail below, there is evidence that he killed Birchmore on February 1st, 2021 to prevent her from disclosing information about his possible commission of the federal crimes listed above. Birchmore's pregnancy. On October 5th, 2020, person 1 told Birchmore that Farwell's wife was pregnant with the couple's third child. Person 1 indicated that the baby was due in February of 2021. Birchmore responded that she was going to tell Farwell's wife that he had been having sex with her, Birchmore, for nearly 10 years. In summary, electronic messages between Farwell and Birchmore for the period beginning on or about October 5th, 2020 through January 2021. So this is a really pivotal date in things. This person 1 told Sandra Birchmore this. Okay. And so now, in summary, the electronic messages beginning October 5th, 2020 through January 2021 indicate that Birchmore presented Farwell with an ultimatum. Farwell would have to agree to engage in unprotected sex with Birchmore with the goal of conceiving a child. And in return, Birchmore would not disclose their relationship. Birchmore had already told others that Farwell had been having sex with her since before she was 16 years old, which she knew was a crime. And Birchmore knew that Farwell was leaving work to have sex with her while he was on duty as a Stoughton police officer. According to text messages between Farwell and Birchmore, Birchmore sent Farwell a photo of her ovulation schedule, and the two started discussing timing their sexual encounters around specific times in Birchmore's cycle. 41. Approximately 1 week after Farwell agreed to have unprotected sex in order to conceive a child, Farwell and Birchmore had a disagreement about the terms of their agreement. The following is an excerpt from a text conversation on October 12th, 2020. And this is why I told you guys to hang on and wait to see about this whole, pregnancy and that him ever making it seem like he's not the father. This was a deal. This was a pact almost. Okay. Farwell, I said the agreement was once. That was our compromise. And he's referring to, we're going to try this one time, like this unprotected sex is what he's trying to say. She says, I asked if we could try this a month. Didn't realize that meant you F me once, LOL. And then I asked if we could try through this year, and you said I'd think about it. The conversation continued on October 13th. Our compromise was try once, says Farwell. Birchmore, yeah, it was to try this month. So you're thinking about the second thing I said as far as the rest of the year? Farwell said, you said try once this month. If it happens, it's meant to be. Those are the exact words. Number 43 here. Text messages indicate that a few weeks later, Birchmore continued to discuss trying to get pregnant. On November 3rd, 2020, she asked Farwell if they could try again that month or whether they would need to talk in person about that. Farwell responded, that's an in-person discussion. On November 5th, 2020, Birchmore asked Farwell if he had given any more thought to their prior conversation and told him that she thought of a way they could both be happy. Birchmore says, how would you feel about us having a baby, you being there and signing the birth certificate? There's never going to be a need for your information anyway, so you'll be safe there. And I won't talk shit about her or your kids. That way we both get what we want. She wanted to have a baby. You asked me the other day what I wanted. This is again from Birchmore. And I didn't want to give it to you in the form of an ultimatum. So I am trying to do it with you as a compromise type of a thing. You can tell me what you thought of. Birchmore says, I am down for discussing it in person, but the more I thought about it, you signing it really isn't going to have an impact on you because of the way things are going to fall in the future. He says, okay, that's an in-person discussion. In November of 2020, so just a couple months then before her murder, after Birchmore learned that she was not yet pregnant, she asked Farwell about continuing to try to conceive for another month. On multiple occasions, Farwell told Birchmore that they would need to discuss that topic in person. Farwell continued to meet with Birchmore in person, and text messages suggest that they remained sexually active. On December 28th, 2020, just 3 days after Christmas, Birchmore sent Farwell a text message informing him that she was pregnant. She sent him a photo of a poster she had made to celebrate the pregnancy. Congrats, we are going to be parents 2021. Farwell immediately responded to Birchmore's disclosure about the pregnancy was, in quotes, I literally have nothing to say right now. How could you express that in a text when I said I don't appreciate it? Farwell and Birchmore then argued about the pregnancy in the following text conversation. How far are you? Regardless of how far, we're keeping it. But 3.5 weeks, she says. Which means I conceived this month. Okay, well, we need to talk then. No shit. That's obvious, she says. And the birth certificate is being signed. Or hers isn't. Or hers isn't. And the detective or this agent says, at the time of these text messages, I know that Farwell's wife was 8 months pregnant with his third child. Based on the context of these texts and prior messages, I believe Birchmore was referring to the birth certificate for the child that Farwell's wife was then carrying when she's saying that, or hers isn't, meaning his wife's. If you don't sign mine, you're not going to sign hers. Birchmore says, no, I'm mad you're acting how you are over a choice we both made. He says, I'm mad you act like you gave anyone a choice. She says, LMAO. Oh, so you didn't have a choice? ? Farwell says, per usual, you make and do whatever you want. Birchmore says, all I did was say, can I have it? You said, have what? And I said, you know what I'm asking for. And you stood up and said, yeah. You've been doing that. You mad she's due in February and I'm in September and you don't know how you're going to be there for both of us. And you need to be there during labor for me too. Birchmore then says, because your kid should matter. Late August, early September. Farwell says, you are truly the worst person on the face of the earth. ... After the foregoing conversation, Birchmore again threatened to expose the truth about Matt's prior sexual abuse and their ongoing relationship. Farwell responded by indicating that Birchmore had threatened him, causing him to agree to impregnate her. Farwell says, for the past week and a half, the doctor wasn't right, but now she was, and you just throw it at me because now you've got me. You honestly have absolutely no idea how to treat people. I have effing bent over backwards for you. Now you want to act like this was some free will decision. You have threatened me from the word go. If I didn't do and give you what you wanted, you would ruin me. I made a deal with you, and you changed the terms at every turn. We will deal with this tomorrow. Farwell's escalating physical violence. On December 29, 2020, Farwell and Birchmore met to talk in person. After this meeting, Birchmore sent Farwell a text alluding to a physical encounter. It made me really uncomfortable and stressed out and scared when you were next to me because I thought you were going to hit me after you said what you said and took things out of my hand. That's why I was crying. I know you wouldn't, but it still scared me. At least 3 witnesses have disclosed that in the weeks prior, before her death, Birchmore told them that Farwell was physically violent with Birchmore and discussed the pregnancy. They were discussing the pregnancy. According to the death records, Birchmore was 4 feet 10 inches tall. Military records indicated that he 6 feet 4 inches tall. And you guys have seen him being arrested, and he towers over the guys. He's like a whole head taller than those dudes that arrested him. Number 50 here. Person 2, so we've heard from person 1 and person 2. We're hearing from person 2 again here. Person 2 reported that in the weeks prior to Birchmore's death, she was quote unquote over the moon about her pregnancy. According to person 2, Birchmore had decreased her coffee consumption, discussed winter clothes for her future baby, and engaged in FaceTime calls with person 2 while selecting baby clothes. Person 2 indicated that Birchmore was nervous about telling Farwell about the pregnancy, but that she eventually did. In January 2021, Birchmore called person 2 and stated that after telling Farwell about the baby, Farwell told her that, quote unquote, he wished she just would die and he wants nothing to do with the baby. According to the information Birchmore shared with person 2, Farwell put Birchmore in a headlock and grabbed her cell phone from her hand. Person 2 told Birchmore to distance herself from him, given that he was dangerous, a police officer. To ever have to include that, like, dude, he's a police officer. But it's so true. And obviously did not care about the law. Wow. However, person 2 was also aware that Birchmore appeared to be attached to him because he had taken her virginity when she was 15 years old. Person 3, this is a new person now, also indicated that in the days before her death, Birchmore disclosed that Farwell had been violent. Approximately 10 days before Birchmore's death, Birchmore and person 3 went to Walmart to buy a baby stroller for Birchmore's future child. Birchmore was excited about the baby and asked person 3 to be the child's godmother. So we know that person 3 is a female. Birchmore told person 3 that the day prior, Farwell had gotten angry with her for showing him a sonogram. According to Birchmore, Farwell told her, quote unquote, that's not my child. I don't want anything really to do with you, end quote. and then Farwell pushed her to the ground. Person 3 told Birchmore to end the relationship. Person 3 indicated that Birchmore seemed scared but not ready to leave Farwell because Farwell had been such a big part of Birchmore's life for several years. Additionally, person 7, Birchmore's longtime therapist, reported that in the weeks before Birchmore's death, Birchmore reported to her that Farwell got upset about the impending pregnancy and shoved her, in quotes. In addition to these descriptions of Farwell's violence targeting Birchmore from person 2, person 3, and person 7 is the therapist, Birchmore's text messages to person 1 further confirm Farwell's escalating violence. Now, just so we are clear, this is all technically hearsay from her. All right. On January 10th, 2021, Birchmore sent person 1 a text message indicating that she had recently argued with Farwell. Birchmore told person 1 that during the argument, Farwell took her cell phone out of her hand 3 times and refused to give it back to her. Birchmore also indicated that Farwell took her computer out of her hand and used his body to shove her. In January 2021, there was increasing pressure on Farwell. In January 2021, the pressure on Farwell increased as a result of Birchmore's pregnancy. Birchmore tried to communicate with Farwell regarding her due date, ultrasounds, genetic testing, gender reveals, and doctor appointments. In his text response, Farwell was unresponsive or dismissive of those topics, or he appeared to ignore them. On January 4th, 2021, Birchmore told Farwell that she was going to the doctor the next day and asked if he wanted to know how the appointment went. Farwell did not directly respond to that question. On January 5th, 2021, Birchmore asked Farwell to come over so they could discuss her estimated due date, the week of her first ultrasound, her conversation with her doctor, and her first appointment. Farwell did not respond directly to that request. Text messages from January 3rd, 2021 show that Birchmore asked Farwell if their child could have his last name. Could have his last name. However, he told her he would not discuss this issue via text message. Footnote 7 down here. Farwell's reluctancy to discuss the pregnancy via text messages is significant because it is inconsistent with Farwell and Birchmore's long history of text message discussions regarding seemingly private topics. For example, there are thousands of text messages between Farwell and Birchmore in which Farwell discusses details regarding his work as a police officer, his sexual fantasies that were predominantly violent and included many references to choking and raping, and graphic details about their previous sexual encounters. So, noting that now all of a sudden he doesn't want to talk about this stuff via text, but that's all he's been doing their whole entire relationship. Birchmore says, "So I have a compromise for you." Birchmore then says, "You don't need to sign the birth certificate if the baby can have your last name, ... Farwell says, "Not discussing in text, we can talk in person." 57. In another text message on January 6, 2021, Birchmore began to ask Farwell what their family would look like. Birchmore, number 1, you don't have to sign the birth certificate if I'm allowed to at least list you, and they can have your name, and I won't move to Stoughton or the town where Farwell's family resides. 2, I won't bitch about holidays, but I would like you to come a few days before Christmas and Easter so you can see what they get from me, and I don't want you to leave them out. And number 3, if you want to try and support them, we can talk about that, but I do want you to see them. Birchmore says, I feel like I'm trying to be as fair as I can, and I want you there for labor. That I'm standing my ground on. Okay. We can discuss this more in person. Okay. I figured. Does it kind of sound okay to you? It a lot to think about. It's so much more than you have ever asked for. And I will agree with him there with the saying that things had changed. If it was like, here, I just want a baby, I'm giving you a baby, to now you're asking my, like, for the child to have his last name, obviously everybody would know then. Talking about family type stuff. If it was never discussed that he was going to be leaving his family and being with her, but so it'll be interesting to see if there's conversations that were in text messages about that. Hey, I just want a baby, so you give me a baby, and I won't be saying anything. I won't. You're not going to have anything to do with the baby. Blah blah blah. So it depends on all of that, but 58 on January 20th, 2021, person 2 called the. I highlighted this for a reason so everybody can understand how this took off. So on January 20th, 2021, person 2 called the Stone Police Department. And in that call, person 2. So at the end, I'm going to remind everybody who is person 2 in this big scheme of things, okay? But person 2 called the Stoughton Police Department, again, January 20th. And in that call, referenced the sexual relationship between Birchmore and Farwell. After learning about this call, so my question would be, what was persons 2, like, what are you going to get from that? What are you trying to accomplish by doing that? Okay. After learning about this call, the fact of which suggested at least some aspects of Farwell's illicit conduct may have been exposed to the Stoughton Police Department, Farwell sent Birchmore text messages revealing his extreme anger. He sent her a series of text messages with explicits telling Birchmore that he thought no one knew about their relationship and that she had no clue how bad this was, and indicating that he does not know if he needs to worry about other disclosures. Dude, this is Farwell. Dude, your fucking friend called my job, Sandra. What the fuck? Birchmore, question mark. Your friend just called my fucking work to complain about me. What the fuck? Birchmore, IDK. What do you mean you don't know? Says Farwell. I literally just woke up. Did you steal from her? Nope. Don't even know what that means. Farwell, what is going on? Farwell, you also told me that no one knew about us, yet she claimed we are fucking. Birchmore, it's literally nothing. Farwell, it's not nothing. She called my job. That's insane. Farwell, why would she call and drop my fucking name, Sandra? Like, what do I have to do with you not giving her something? Like, you have no idea how bad what she did is. I literally can't believe this is even real life. What else do I have to worry about now? Which other friend will do something tomorrow? During this investigation, I have interviewed person 5, an employee of the Stoughton Police Department who received the call from person 2 on January 20th, 2021. So now we know that person 5, okay, police. Person 5 indicated that he or she, because they don't want us to know, took down person 2's name and information and gave it to Farwell. Person 5 indicated that Farwell immediately got angry and quote unquote pissed off and ordered person 5, in quotes, not to speak about this to anyone and to never talk about it again, end quote. Now, I can't wait to find out what is supposed to be what's protocol here. Okay. Because nowhere in here does it say, person 5 described Farwell's reaction as atypical and not consistent with his normal behavior. Well, why would you give this to why did person 5 ever give this to Farwell? Okay, person 5 it's automatic report. Birchmore's final days. On January 24th, 2021, approximately 1 week prior to Birchmore's death, she communicated with person 8 about Farwell. So the father came by last night. It was like a complete 360 change. And the person 8 says, you mean 180? Yeah, LOL. Okay. That footnote, by the way, person 5 did not have an independent memory of the date of the call, by the way, but I have confirmed such date through business records. So phone records confirmed that the date was correct when the person remembered everything versus I don't remember exactly what date that was. Well, what kind of really good note taking did you do? And that tells me that you only gave it to him. You didn't report it anywhere else. Okay. Person 8, good or bad? ? Birchmore says, good, but unexpected. So it kind of threw me off and made me a little uncomfortable, but that's because of how things were going. He asked me if I'd give him a key and said that if I keep it a secret, he'll be around and see them and all that. So it's somewhere. Then he looked in my closet and then bathroom, but I don't know why. I haven't figured that out yet. Birchmore says, we started a heart-to-heart, then work called him, so he had to leave. Birchmore says, oh, and he brought me a ginger ale because I ran out. Person 8 says, what about the birth certificate? I think he's signing it, not sure. He's coming back again this week. But it was like a complete 180 from where we were at. Okay. All right, here I highlighted or at least started for you guys. Birchmore knew something was up. Then he looked in my closet and then the bathroom, but I don't know why. I haven't figured that out yet. This was a week before she was murdered, where she was found in her closet. Based on my training and experience, I believe that Farwell's shift in demeanor on or about this date was his attempt to appease Birchmore until he could kill her. Additionally, the foregoing text messages considered in light of what other evidence suggests that Farwell was making a plan to kill Birchmore. Part of the plan included asking Birchmore to give him a key and keep it a secret. Another part of the plan was inspecting various rooms of Birchmore's apartment, including the closet, to determine whether they contained items or presented options for how and when to kill Birchmore. Farwell's request for a key for Birchmore's apartment in the week leading up to her death is corroborated by other evidence. I have reviewed text messages between Farwell and Birchmore from January 24, 2021, in which Birchmore gave Farwell the pass code to her. Now this footnote here, number 9, before I continue on February 4th, 2021, when Canton police found Birchmore's body next to the closet door with a duffel bag strap around her neck. The strap was wrapped around the closet door handle. She gave him the passcode building's front door and told him, I have your key to when you want it. Additionally, I have reviewed records from Walmart that suggest that Birchmore did in fact pay approximately $2 to have a key copied at approximately 11:10 a.m. on January 24, 2021. According to text messages Birchmore and Farwell exchanged on January 29, 2021, Birchmore again gave Farwell the passcode to her building's front door, and Farwell verified that the code was the general one given to the entire building, not just one assigned to her. He was planning for that. camera footage never saw the light of day. Number 64, Farwell requesting or accepting a key to Birchmore's apartment was a sudden change from recent conversations. I have reviewed text messages between Farwell and Birchmore, one as recent as October 14th, 2020, in which Farwell told her that he did not think it was a good idea for him to keep a key to her new Canton apartment. In a conversation with her friend, person 9, on January 24, 2021, Birchmore indicated that she was surprised that Farwell was now requesting a key to her apartment. Person 9 says, "Did it go good with him?" Birchmore, I got hit with a shocker question. Can I call you? So what really, surprisingly, he asked if he could have a key. I am basically said he'll be around as long as I keep it a secret and don't tell anyone. But he did admit that I do have the upper hand in the situation, which isn't a good thing, but I am trying to and not be that person, if you know what I mean. I get it. Are you going to give him a key? I just made a copy of it. Yeah, that's good. I'm not going to give it to him yet, but he also brought me a ginger ale last night, like I asked him to. Person 9 says, oh, so he's coming around. Birchmore says, a lot more than I thought he was going to say yes. I still have to verify the PIN for him to get into the apartment if he rings me and I don't answer. But like last night, he opened my closet door for something, and then he went in my bathroom looking at my bathroom, and then I have a dolly in my living room that he asked why I had it. It was just really odd. He started looking around. I don't know. Person 9. That's weird. Yeah, it was really weird. According to text messages between Farwell and Birchmore 2 days before Birchmore's death, she continued to engage Farwell about planning for the birth of their child. On January 30th, 2021, Birchmore asked Farwell if she could tell him the baby names she was considering. Farwell told her would rather discuss that topic in person. Leading up to February 1st, 2021, Birchmore planned for other important baby-related events, such as who would care for her cats when she went into labor. She ordered baby items and conducted Google searches related to her pregnancy and future child-rearing decisions. She also planned for newborn baby photos, an official pregnancy announcement, which she planned to do on Valentine's Day, as well as a gender reveal. She also made plans for the more immediate future, scheduling an OBGYN appointment for February 10th, 2021, and asking Farwell to help shovel out her car during the impending snowstorm. Again, those footnotes here. This planning is of note because it indicates that shortly before her death, Birchmore was doing things that indicated her plans for the future. It is also important because it reveals a level of care for her pets that is inconsistent with the circumstances of her death, because she just left her cats. Specifically, when police found Birchmore's body in her apartment on February 4th, 2021, her cats were present. She had made no arrangements for the animals. During the investigation, agents also learned that Birchmore had been taking classes in preparation for applying to nursing school. The day Birchmore died, on February 1st, 2021, at 12:19 p.m., Birchmore sent Farwell text messages indicating that she was going to be released early at 12:35 p.m. from her job at the Sharon Public Schools. Farwell told her that he would not be in the area that day. Okay. Later, in the afternoon on February 1st, 2021, Birchmore told Farwell that she had received an early gift in the mail and that she was not planning to have a baby shower until late March because of the then ongoing COVID-19 mandates, like the pandemic. She told Farwell that once she learned whether they were having a boy or a girl, she wanted him to purchase clothes for the child to wear when he or she came home from the hospital. Investigators have reviewed surveillance videos from Birchmore's Canton apartment building. On February 1st, 2021, she is seen on the video at approximately 5:01 p.m. accepting a DoorDash order. And then again, going outside briefly and returning with a snow brush at 5:31 p.m. and 5:33 p.m. respectively. The last time Birchmore is seen alive on the video is on February 1st, 2021 at 5:33 p.m. Later that evening at approximately 9:08 p.m., Farwell sent Birchmore a text message asking whether he could, quote unquote, come by for a sec. At approximately 9:10 p.m., Birchmore sent Farwell a text message indicating that when he arrived at her apartment, the door would be open for him. This is the last known outgoing message sent from Birchmore's cell phone. This is huge when you want to talk about Canton police and doing their investigating, okay? Because she wasn't found until February 4th. Now, surveillance video shows Farwell entering Birchmore's Canton apartment building at 9:14 p.m. In the surveillance video, Farwell is wearing street clothes, a hoodie, jeans, with his hood up, and a face mask that is similar to the medical face mask that many people used during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, to go back and hit these footers, I am aware that the electronic timestamp on the apartment's complex video surveillance system was off by approximately 13 minutes. The surveillance video time set forth in this affidavit, though, accounts for this 13-minute difference and are therefore the approximate real times of the events. I have reviewed Massachusetts State Police investigative reports, which tentatively, look at this word, tentatively identify that as being him. Their reports didn't even indicate with certainty that that was him. As the person on the surveillance footage entering Birchmore's apartment, I have interviewed multiple witnesses who have each indicated that Farwell, he resisted wearing a mask during the pandemic. He was not a mask wearer. One of these witnesses stated that Farwell would only wear a mask when on duty and required by department policy to do so. The video surveillance recording shows that Farwell left Birchmore's apartment at 9:43 p.m. Canton police officers found Birchmore's body on February 4th, 2021. On February 4th, 2021, Canton police officers conducted a well-being check at Birchmore's apartment. This was due to one of Birchmore's coworkers. They called the police because Birchmore had failed to show up for work that day. When officers arrived, they found Birchmore's body seated on the floor in a reclined position with a duffel bag strap tied around her neck. That strap was connected to her closet doorknob. The closet that Farwell had inspected approximately 1 week earlier. At least one first responder quickly concluded that Birchmore had been deceased for days. Like that person had known this wasn't something that just had happened, okay? Days. I have reviewed crime scene photographs that depict Birchmore wearing the same clothing that she was wearing when she is seen on video entering her apartment on February 1st, 2021 at approximately 5:33. She's in the same clothing, okay? This is consistent with Birchmore having died later that same evening. A fourth grader could figure that out. A fourth grader could figure that out. This is Canton Police Department. And then Massachusetts State Police Department getting this case and doing nothing. Look the other way, doing nothing. According to police reports, when Birchmore's body was found, her cell phone was on the floor, located approximately 12 inches from her right hand and 6 inches from her bent right knee. This was continuing with that footnote, February 1st, 2021. I've also reviewed a report regarding state police detectives' interview of Farwell, in which Farwell admitted that he went to Birchmore's apartment on February 1st. So why she's putting this up there is that how in your report aren't you just saying that it's 100% him? He's admitting that he went there. In that interview, Farwell stated that he had been there between approximately 9:10 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. So this was that continued footer talking about the fact that how does your report say that it was tentatively him when he's admitting that it was him? I have reviewed the data. Now, this is the stuff that I enjoy is all the data, okay, because it's that compelling. And it's not, as Nick Guerrero wants to say, inaccurate. It's very accurate. Okay, I have reviewed the data on Birchmore's phone. A log report indicates that the phone was locked from 9:13 p.m. on February 1st, 2021. Remember what happened right before that? She had wrote him and said the door will be unlocked. So her phone was locked from 9:13 p.m. on February 1st, 2021 until the device powered off because of battery loss on February 3rd. On February 1st, 2021, while still locked, Birchmore's phone recorded a screenshot of a black screen at 9:18 p.m. In other words, after sending a final text message to Farwell to tell him the door was unlocked, Birchmore's phone locked and was not unlocked until after the device was recovered by the police. That phone was never used again the moment that that man walked into that apartment. The phone was never used again. Number 76. Health data on Birchmore's phone indicates that the last movement recorded by the phone on February 1st, 2021 occurred at 9:40 p.m. This is how accurate it is, Mr. Nicholas Guerrero. Okay. This was closed. All right. But here, that was 3 minutes before Farwell was captured on surveillance video leaving Birchmore's apartment. Again, think about this. Health data on Birchmore's phone indicates the last movement recorded by the phone, the movement because they count your steps, was at 9:40, which was 3 minutes before he's seen on the cameras leaving. Specifically, this data indicates that the mechanisms that Apple users use to record movement registered 8 steps at approximately 9:40. 8 steps. And it's because he moved her phone and put it where? Next to her body. These recorded steps occurred while Farwell was still in Birchmore's apartment. The phone recorded no additional steps between 9:40 p.m. and the time that it was recovered by first responders on February 4th, 2021. As noted above, first responders ultimately found the phone next to Birchmore's body. Based on my review of the frequency of Birchmore's phone use over weeks, months, and years leading up to her death, her failure to access her phone is inconsistent with usual habits when alive and awake. I reviewed Birchmore's phone use from the hours leading up to her death on February 1st, 2021. The following are some of the items in Birchmore's phone data from those hours. But first, your footnotes. Based on my training and experience, I am aware that Apple iPhone can be used to track and retain health-related data of the user, including but not limited to steps taken. I have also interviewed multiple witnesses who have reported on Birchmore's frequent, almost incessant phone use. In fact, one witness referred to Birchmore's phone as her quote-unquote third hand. This is the same guy that testified in the Karen Reed case. Nicholas Guerrero got up there and said that John O'Keefe's health data of registering stairs being flights of stairs was from driving a hilly road. I cannot believe that he had the audacity to get up there and testify and say those words. Before her death. This is evidence that appears to be inconsistent with Birchmore, a pregnant woman choosing to die by suicide that day. From 1:25 to 1:31, Birchmore communicated with the photographer regarding the timeline for booking a newborn photography shoot. 7:57 p.m. Birchmore texted a friend to obtain baby clothes from her. 8:25 p.m. Birchmore performed a Google search for Cubby Kids furniture. The condition of and items found in Birchmore's apartment were inconsistent with Birchmore dying by suicide. I have interviewed family members who helped clean Birchmore's apartment in the days following her death. Some of the things they observed were also inconsistent with Birchmore deciding to die by suicide. For example, during their first visit, they noted that Birchmore had been in the middle of doing laundry when she died, with a load of wet clothes in the wash machine and another load in the dryer. Additionally, they observed a homemade sign saying, in quotes, "Congratulations, you're going to be a father," end quote. That sign had an ultrasound photo on it and was sprinkled with glitter. Additionally, in Birchmore's apartment, family members observed a new baby stroller that was still in its package. They also observed homemade and storage bought onesies for a baby. One onesie read, "We're going to be parents," with a set of footprints underneath. Birchmore had packages that had been delivered recently, including clothing and other supplies for her baby. Birchmore had ordered items shortly before her death, and packages continued to arrive in the days following her death. Finally, family members found a necklace. This is going to be really important for the new medical examiner. Finally, family members found a necklace that belonged to Birchmore lying on the floor of her bedroom. This necklace consisted of a thin gold chain with a pink flamingo charm. The family members observed that the necklace's chain was broken, but not at the clasp. There was also a large clump of hair on the chain. From my review of the crime scene photos, I observed that while the strap was still around Birchmore's neck, the necklace was broken and hanging from the left side of her neck. The necklace's charm was on the right side of her abdomen. Do you guys know what that means? The family members observed that the necklace's chain was broken, but not at the clasp. It was found, when they found it, lying on the floor of the bedroom. But in the photos, from my review of the crime scene photos, I observed that while the strap was still around Birchmore's neck, that necklace was broken and hanging from the left side of her neck. The necklace's charm was on the right side of her abdomen. Autopsy and medical evidence. An OCM pathologist here in the medical examiner performed an autopsy on Birchmore's body. The medical examiner determined that Birchmore's cause of death was asphyxiation by hanging. The medical examiner ruled Birchmore's death a suicide. The medical examiner's written autopsy report noted that Birchmore's hyoid bone, a U-shaped bone at the front of the neck, was fractured on the right side, and that she suffered from petechial hemorrhaging of the bulbar and I'm not going to say all these medical terms. I'll just botch them. Additionally, the medical examiner concluded that Birchmore had a hemorrhage of her left, again, sternothyroid muscle. The medical examiner's autopsy report further confirmed that Birchmore was approximately 8 to 10 weeks pregnant at the time of her death. So she wasn't lying about that. The autopsy included toxicology testing. The results of the toxicology test were negative for all substances except for, I think she was taking something for like an antidepressant, and it was prescribed. They're keeping the name of the medical examiner out of paperwork. As part of this investigation, the government retained Dr. William Smock as an expert to independently review the crime scene photos, autopsy photos, and the medical examiner's autopsy report. I'm going to skip over all of his accolades, but he has 40 years experience. Based on his review of the evidence, Dr. Smock has made several observations and conclusions that call into question the prior finding that Birchmore's cause of death was a suicide, and instead further confirm that Birchmore's cause of death was homicide. First, Dr. Smock concluded that the fracture of the right superior horn of Birchmore's hyoid bone is not consistent with the position in which first responders found her, aka sitting. A sitting hanging is called an incomplete hanging, meaning only partial body weight is applied to the neck ligature. Dr. Smock's review of hundreds of cases of hangings in the forensic medical literature found no reported cases of hyoid bone fractures in seated women. Why? Fractures of the hyoid bone are more commonly seen in strangulation, assaults, and in hangings with full body weight applied to it, but not seated hangings because it's not enough weight. I did want to read that clip or footer from the last one. I don't know if I read it. Okay, I did. Second, Dr. Smock noted that during the autopsy, a pattern imprint was documented on Birchmore's right upper chest. The pattern imprint was the consequence of a buckle or buckles from the ligature strap being forced downward into Mrs. Birchmore's chest, forced downward. The presence of this pattern imprint is not consistent with a ligature hanging. Rather, the presence of the pattern is consistent with blunt force trauma from an assault. When first responders found Birchmore's body, the buckle responsible for this imprint was observed just below her right ear. However, the location of the imprint on her chest is not consistent with an incomplete ligature hanging. Third, Dr. Smock reviewed the autopsy photos that depicted Birchmore with areas of skin missing from the inferior and lateral aspects of her nose, consisting with abrasions. These type of injuries are commonly seen in cases of suffocation when the victim moves their nose back and forth with their head in an effort to breathe. Fourth, Dr. Smock noted that Birchmore was in the habit of always wearing a chain necklace with a flamingo pennant. The chain was found broken around Birchmore's neck. The breaking of Birchmore's chain necklace is consistent with a struggle. Dr. Smock, based on his education, experience, training, and his review of the materials in this case, opined with a reasonable degree of medical and scientific certainty that the cause of Miss Birchmore's death is asphyxiation and that the matter of her death is homicide. Massachusetts State Police interview of Matthew Farwell. On February 6, 2021, 2 days after the police found Birchmore's body in her apartment, Massachusetts State Police detectives interviewed Farwell. The interview occurred in the parking lot of Stoughton Elementary School. During this interview, Farwell made several false statements about his relationship with Birchmore. Farwell told officers that he was involved in a sexual relationship with Birchmore, but he claimed the relationship only began in 2020. Based on this investigation, Farwell's statement to detectives was false. As described above, Farwell began having sex with Birchmore in 2013 and continued to have sex with her until her death. Farwell told detectives that he had only had sex with Birchmore 2 or 3 times in the previous year. This statement was also false. Based on text messages between Farwell and Birchmore, Farwell had sexual intercourse with Birchmore on at least 10 occasions between January 1st, 2020 and February 1st, 2021. Farwell also told detectives from the Massachusetts State Police that he could not have been the father of Birchmore's unborn child because the last time he had intercourse with her was October 2020. This statement was also false. Set forth below is a text message conversation between Farwell and Birchmore on November 18th, 2020, in which they discussed an upcoming sexual encounter. Farwell: I'm going to try for it tonight. I've been in interviews all day from the murder. Sorry. Exciting. Okay, I'm running to the store and doing something for you then. I hope you can come. Farwell says, what are you doing for me? ? Birchmore says, LOL, shaving. Birchmore says, are you planning on rolling me over? I need to know what you want if you come. Farwell: if you want me to roll you. You would want me to use a condom if I roll you? She says, I don't have any, LOL. I never picked up any. Do you want me to just take what you do or try and say no? I know being told no is your favorite. Say no. I can do that. Approximately 21 minutes after the foregoing text messages, Farwell told Birchmore that he was at her apartment, and subsequent text messages indicated that she let him in. Approximately 25 minutes later, Birchmore asked Farwell via text message whether he enjoyed having, and he responded yes. During the February 6, 2021 interview with Massachusetts State Police, Farwell told the detectives that he had been at Birchmore's apartment on the night of February 1st, 2021. However, he denied having anything to do with her death. He told detectives that he had arrived around 9:10 and left around 9:30. I am aware from my review of surveillance footage from Birchmore's apartment building that Farwell actually left at 9:43 p.m. That was after Birchmore's phone stopped sending messages or recording movement. Within approximately 13 hours of Farwell's visit to Birchmore's apartment on February 1st, 2021, his wife gave birth to their third child at Newton Hospital, adding to the intensifying pressure to ensure that Birchmore would not disclose information regarding Farwell's conduct. Farwell told detectives that he had not seen Birchmore at all in the week leading up to her death, except during the visit to her apartment on February 1st, 2021. Based on my review of the text messages between Farwell and Birchmore, Farwell visited Birchmore at her apartment on January 29, 2021. Farwell told detectives that Birchmore had been sectioned many times. Based on my training and experience, sectioned is a term that Massachusetts law enforcement officers use to refer to the practice of involuntary hospitalization on a temporary basis. We've all heard that before, right? Karen Reed, right? With a person with severe mental health issues. However, so he tried to make her seem cuckoo. However, the Stoughton Police Department, the law enforcement agency in the town where Birchmore lived her whole life before moving to Canton on or about December 1st, 2020, has a record of Birchmore being subject to this temporary mental health hospitalization only one time in May of 2020. According to police records and information disclosed by person 7, on that day, which is the therapist, on that day, Birchmore had gotten into a fight with a family member who called the police and reported Birchmore was going to harm herself. The police took Birchmore to the hospital where she was evaluated and deemed not at risk for self-harm. She was released a few hours later. According to person 7, the therapist, Birchmore stated that she was not suicidal, just angry at her family member. Additionally, I'm aware that minutes after Birchmore's release from this unfounded section, Farwell and Birchmore engaged in a graphic sexual conversation. Later, Birchmore apologized for worrying Farwell, and Farwell replied, "I wasn't worried. I know you were fine." End quote. The Canton Police Department has no record of Birchmore being subject to any temporary mental health hospitalization. While there is evidence that indicates that Birchmore may have had suicidal ideations on a few occasions between 2016 to 2018, which Farwell likely knew about because he was exploiting her during that time, I am not aware of credible evidence of any suicidal ideations in the approximately 3 years leading up to her death. In fact, all of the witnesses who agents interviewed about their interactions with Birchmore in the weeks leading up to her death suggested that during that period she was excited, optimistic, and involved in future planning. Person 7 had a therapy session with Birchmore on January 31st, 2021, right before her death. During that meeting, person 7 screened Birchmore for any types of depression or suicidal ideation. He or she found none. Person 7 had regular sessions with Birchmore and noted no signs of depression or suicidal ideation in the months leading up to Birchmore's death, and had her next appointment scheduled with Birchmore for February 4th, 2021. That would have been the same day that she was found. Additionally, Farwell told detectives that he, quote unquote, had been trying to distance himself from Birchmore. This is inconsistent with evidence that in Birchmore's final days, Farwell asked for a key to her apartment. I have also reviewed a text message from January 28th, 2021, just days before Birchmore's death, in which Farwell told her that when he came over that night, he would give her, quote unquote, hugs. In that same conversation, he told her that he may not be able to visit her because he was, quote unquote, at a death, but that it was all good because, quote unquote, we do them all the time, end quote. In addition, I have reviewed a text message exchange between Birchmore and Farwell from January 29, 2021, in which Birchmore expressed joy at Farwell agreeing to engage in sexual activity with her again. Farwell's post-interview conduct. Following Birchmore's death, the Stoughton Police Department placed Farwell on administrative leave. Around that time, Farwell met a co-worker who is person 4 at a local bar. During that meeting, Farwell told person 4 that he had a sexual relationship with Birchmore. However, according to person 4, at no point during that conversation did Farwell, express any sadness, grief, or remorse about Birchmore's death. Farwell told person 4 that he was angry with MSP for looking into him. At some point during the summer of 2021, person 4 attended a social gathering during which Farwell participated in a joke about Birchmore being hung on the door. Sick. I'm aware that in Farwell's time as a Stoughton police officer and then detective, he responded to unattended deaths. That's what that footer's about. You got to be kidding me. A joke. Additional evidence relevant to detention. Again, this is also that he cannot be out pending the trial. Through this investigation, agents have identified evidence that Farwell expressed an interest in violent sex and has a history of choking Birchmore. On more than one occasion, Farwell asked Birchmore to perform his fantasies during sex, whereas Birchmore would pretend to be the victim of Farwell's simulated essays. Moreover, I have reviewed text messages that indicate that over the course of their relationship, Farwell indicated the concept of choking Birchmore on numerous occasions. In 2020, the year preceding her death, text messages revealed that Farwell told Birchmore on at least 20 separate occasions that he would grab her throat, pin her down by her throat, squeeze her throat, or choke her. These messages were sent on the following dates: January 29th, 2020, February 10th, March 9th, March 23rd, March 30th, April 2nd, May 11th, May 14th, May 15th, June 4th, June 7th, June 13th, June 27th, August 5th, August 14th, September 5th, October 14th, October 15th, and November 13th. Based on my review of Birchmore's journal entries as far as 2013, when Birchmore was just 16 years old, Farwell introduced the idea of choking during their sexual encounters and discussions. What the sick. One such example of Farwell promising occurred on October 14th when Farwell told Birchmore that he was going to cover her mouth. Wow, I'll grab your throat and say you won't. Wow, I can't even. On October 15th, 2020, so then on November 13th, 2020, Farwell and Birchmore again discussing choking. God. Farwell and used violent sex as a form of punishment. Birchmore's journal entries from 2013 through 2020 detail a continuous and sometimes violent sexual relationship with Farwell. Birchmore often journaled about Farwell using to punish her. According to her journal entries, Farwell would engage in forceful acts. According to her journal entries, Farwell would engage in these forceful acts to punish her for her mistakes, such as getting bad grades, having intercourse with other people, and failing to share her cell phone location with him. I have reviewed numerous text messages that Farwell sent Birchmore, including some from March of 2019, which are consistent with Farwell's practice of using certain sex acts to punish her for lying or being intimate with someone else. Oh my God. Based on my training and experience, I know that the acronym STFU means shut the fuck up. Totally. This is wild. Yeah. Farwell's fixation with rape fantasies. I'm not going to read that. His controlling tendencies. Text messages between Farwell and Birchmore include Farwell's repeated demands that Birchmore set her phone's location sharing settings to allow him to always view her location. In these text conversations, Farwell indicated Birchmore needed to share this information in order to gain back his trust for her alleged lies and infidelity. On March 11th, Farwell says asked Birchmore why her location was off and why he can no longer see it. On March 22nd, 2019, Farwell asked Birchmore to reveal her location. When she responded that she was at a 7-Eleven, Farwell told her that he knew she was in Abington, and he asked multiple times why she would go there when Stoughton has 100 convenience stores. On April 22nd, 2019, Farwell sent Birchmore a text message stating, quote unquote, "I know you're hiding shit. Your location is off again." On June 22nd, 2019, Farwell sent Birchmore a text message asking why she turned off her location data the other day. On July 5th, 2019, again reached out to Birchmore saying, "I see your location is off again." In July of 2020, apparently transitioned from wanting to track Birchmore's location to prioritizing secrecy. Farwell says, "You can turn your location back off if you want." Birchmore says, "It wasn't off. That's why I wasn't sure why it wasn't showing up. Then I just unshared and reshared it with you. You can have it. It's been a thing for years. LOL. LOL, okay." Infidelity. Okay. "I don't care if you know where I am," Sandra says. "I'm not doing anything I shouldn't be. My legs shaking a shit ton right now. I'm feeling that tomorrow. LOL. I know that I just don't really like any of that stuff. Big brother is always watching." Birchmore, "I don't understand what you mean." Farwell, "I'm just saying iPhones keep track of way too much stuff. I don't mean anything by it." Farwell's iCloud account contains disturbing images regarding violent and necrophilia. During this investigation pursuant to federal search warrants, agents obtained and reviewed data from Farwell's iCloud account. Located in Farwell's iCloud account were several memes that indicate his interest in sexual intercourse with dead bodies. A meme that states, quote unquote, "What does a pulse and an orgasm have in common? I don't care if she has either." Another meme states, "If you F a corpse on a waterbed, it feels like they are participating." What the fuck? A meme glorifying a person who kills and sexually abuses someone who, quote unquote, "no one will miss." Farwell's iCloud data also contains images that reveal his interest in domestic and sexual violence. a meme containing a photo of a woman with tape over her mouth that states duct tape turning no, no, no into since 1942. What a bastard. Farwell's iCloud data also includes images that could reveal his interest in strangulation. For example, one such image states, quote unquote, when she says, choke me, daddy, and you get carried away and now she's dead, end quote. There is also a screenshot of an image of a woman saying that she could not sleep, followed by a man choking her, saying goodnight, B. Farwell's efforts to conceal his crimes. On February 9th, 2021, after giving his personal cell phone to state police detectives, so this is really important here, guys. So he gets interviewed on the 6th, okay? On the 9th, he gives consent for his cell phones to the state police detectives, okay? He used then his Stoughton police issued cell phone to make and delete 2 Google searches. First, Farwell searched for and deleted, quote unquote, can delete iMessages be recovered by Cellbrite? He then searched for and deleted, can you revoke consent in Massachusetts, end quote. I have identified text messages between Farwell and Birchmore in which Farwell directed Birchmore to destroy evidence of their sexual relationship. On March 11th, 2019, Farwell sent Birchmore a text message reminding her to make sure you clear all this out. On March 19th, sent text messages about his desire to use, and at the end of this conversation, Farwell sent her a text indicating that he was going to bed and instructed her to clear out this text. On June 5th, reminding her to do it. Clear that out, part out, baby. I did. Good girl. All right. 45 pages. And that's what you call an affidavit. It should be noted that all of this information, just like the feds got, Massachusetts State Police had the ability to get, and they didn't, or they buried it, or they act like they couldn't find it. But there was 32,000 text messages between Birchmore and Matthew that Nicholas Guerrero says that he couldn't find. This should tell us everything that we need to know about whose experts know what in the Karen Reed case. I believe that the federal agents were on Sandra Birchmore's case first. This is what has happened because of that. They got into the Karen Reed case after the Sandra Birchmore case, and so we can start expecting the Fed to indict. I think in the Karen Reed case, things are going to start. These officers, anybody that protected him, covered this up. They did it. They did just that. It should have never even got to the Massachusetts State Police. It should have been handled by Canton. And if you have any type of investigation, you would have known that Sandra was in a struggle. The guy walked in there. The guy left. Her phone never moved again. So Lank and the guys from Canton, anybody that was there and covered this up, all these people should be, they played a part in this. And so I believe that they're either going to be ratting on other things, or they will be indicted as well. They should be indicted. Because I find it hard to believe that there's only one Sandra Birchmore out there. Nicholas Guerrero is the same guy that was on the stand for the Karen Reed case for the Commonwealth, talking crazy shit about health data, and that the stairs were from being in a car and going up and down hills. He's the same guy in the Sandra Birchmore case that did not find any text messages. Meanwhile, there's 32,000. This man is eligible for the death penalty. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for the moderators. I do apologize that it was very trigger warning, but hopefully this helped those of you guys that are at work and could listen. But that's a PCA, and that affidavit was written for the purpose to keep this man detained pending his trial. A federal grand jury indicted him. The indictment's just 2 pages. And then the United States motion for and memorandum in support of pretrial detention is the 18 pages that was filed, and everything is coming from that affidavit. This case is, it's all about Sandra getting the truth and then in turn getting justice. But Matthew Farwell did not act alone to conceal and cover up this crime. He did not act alone to obstruct justice. He did not act alone to cover this up. Anybody that went there to investigate her death and didn't report the right things are responsible. I feel really bad for her friend that ever called the police, because literally within days from that phone call, because he was notified, Sandra Birchmore was then murdered. So I can't imagine that friend living with, it was like 11 days later, is on January 20th, was that call to the police department. Then the person that took the call took it to Farwell, but didn't take it to a superior, took it to him. And then 11 days later, she was murdered. All right, guys, we'll see you back on the flip side today at 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard. Join me for, it's a live broadcast streaming. It is the hearing for the change of venue in the Brian Colbert, Idaho 4 case.
We are not afraid of whatever evidence is unearthed from whatever source, because for 15 months, every stitch of evidence has been consistent with my client's innocence. My client suffers. In the meantime, her life is on hold, while she spends every waking moment defending herself, emotionally, intellectually, and financially. We cannot abide by excuses any longer. We need this court's help. We need you, Your Honor, respectfully.
Juror, quote, believes that every member of the jury, if asked, will confirm that the jury reached not guilty verdicts.